So I bought these shoes instead of the ASICS Superblast 2s, but was it a mistake? These are Reebok's new race day shoes, and they are called the FloatZig X1s. Let's get right into it. So Reebok's website says that this is a full-length float ride energy foam midsole, and it's a little bit confusing because if you scroll down the page, they also said that this is a dual density setup, so I'm not exactly sure if it's a full-length float ride energy foam midsole, if there's also another foam involved, as well as they don't really mention the official stack height of the shoe, but they do mention that it is a 6mm heel to toe drop. After trying them on, I would say that it's probably near the limit of a 40mm stack height in the heel, dropping to that 32 to 34mm range in the forefoot. So 6mm heel to toe drop of a little bit of dual density and float ride energy foam. So it's interesting that they didn't really clarify, but you can see on the medial side of the shoe that there is a different foam that they add on top of the float ride energy foam, and it kind of goes all the way to the lateral side, just the heel side of the lateral part of the shoe. And it kind of reminds me of Hoka's J-frame technology for their stability options on Hoka's product line, which are, you know, the Arahi as well as the Gaviota, where they have a stiffer foam on the medial side that goes a little bit around to the heel side of the lateral side of the shoe. Reebok's website also just mentions that they have a full-length rubber outsole for the traction pattern, as well as on the upper, a deconstructed mesh upper. Now that's what Reebok's website says, but once I got these shoes in hand, I was super excited to receive them, and honestly, my thought process behind this shoe purchase was that, you know, the ASICS Superblast 2 is a super shoe or a super daily trainer shoe with no plate, and I was thinking, you know what, for $200, might as well try to get an affordable race day option, you know, with a good stack height, premium foam, as well as a full-length carbon plate. And I saw that Reebok released these, and I have childhood memories of REEZIGs, so I was like, let me go ahead and try these out. But to my surprise, when I got them in hand, I was a little bit disappointed, and let me tell you why. Reebok did claim on their website that they had a deconstructed mesh upper, but right when I took the shoe out of the box, I knew I was in trouble because of this fuse-like upper, especially in the heel part, where the heel tab has a lot of stiff, plasticky material. The toe box as well as the midfoot, it is a little bit fusy and a little bit rigid as well, but it is a very thin layer, and I wasn't too worried about it. Whereas with the heel, it was a little bit more stiff, obviously to provide support and lock your heel down. But I've had a little bit of trouble in the past with these types of uppers, specifically the Adizero Boston 11, where it had a similar type fuse type upper, or just something that was a little bit more rigid in the heel, and I could feel it digging while I was walking or running, and it actually caused me to bleed and blister really quickly after a couple of miles. So I got a little bit worried about this shoe before I tried it on because I felt the same exact thing in this heel counter, and when I did try them on, just walking around my room, I already felt it digging into my heel. So if you have similar problems with that in shoes, I would say to avoid this shoe. I'm most likely going to return this pair back to Reebok just because of that issue. I don't want to bleed on race day, and I just don't want to bleed in general when I'm running. This, even though it ran true to size, I did feel it digging into my heel. As for the rest of the shoe though, the upper is actually pretty nice. It is very breathable. You can really see that the toe box is very thin, and it allows a lot of air to go through, as well as just the overall feel of the upper. It is a little bit plasticky, as I said, but it's gonna be durable, and there's a couple cushion pads in the shoe to keep the upper really light and comfortable. Just with that heel tab, I had a lot of personal issues with that. And moving on to the midsole of the FloatZig X1, we have a dual density float ride energy foam. I'm not exactly sure why they said a full-length float ride energy foam when there is a CMEVA part of the dual density midsole, especially on the lateral side. So this is actually an interesting option for maybe someone that's looking for a stability shoe as a race day shoe, because to my knowledge, there is actually no race day shoes that have stability built into them. So this is a very unique option, and if that heel counter is not an issue for you, these could be viable definitely for your race day. Just trying them on, just because, you know, I'm returning them, I did feel that the shoe was a little bit heavier than normal. especially with race day shoes, you know, I know that weight is a big deal, and these definitely felt a little bit clunky and a little bit heavy just because the midsole is a big body and it is definitely a little bit heavier than the upper. The upper was really lightweight, so I thought the shoe was going to be lightweight in general, but due to that dense and heavy midsole, it does feel a little bit clunky, and that's something to note if you're looking to buy this shoe. As for how the midsole felt just on initial try on, I did not run in these just because I'm going to return them. The Float Ride Energy Foam is definitely a little bit bouncy, and I do feel the carbon plate, but due to that extra layer of more stable foam in the medial side as well as the heel lateral side, I did feel that it deadened the responsiveness a little bit of the Float Ride Energy Foam. So I'm actually curious maybe to try a shoe that's not a stability shoe from Reebok, maybe the FloatZig, I think it's just called the FloatZig Ones, which is their regular daily trainer, and I think they have a full length Float Ride Energy midsole as well. So I'm excited to try maybe one of those shoes that don't have this stability density, this stability denser foam on the top of the medial side, but it did feel a little bit less responsive than a lot of other race day shoes, but comfortable nonetheless. I wouldn't say you should try to pick up this shoe though if you're trying to run really fast or maybe break a PR, because it just doesn't feel super fast. As for the outsole in my room, I guess, felt pretty sticky, and the traction or tread looks pretty durable as well. So this could be a viable option of you're going to use this as a race day shoe as well as a long run or training shoe as well. It's not going to be the fastest option, but it's definitely going to be a little bit more durable than some other race day shoes out there. So as I did say, if you're still interested in looking at these as a race day shop option or a training option, as long as your heel doesn't bleed and you don't mind that stiffer material on the upper, I think that this could still be a pretty good option for a race day shoe or a training shoe, as long as that heel part doesn't bother you, you get your true size, and you don't mind a little bit heavier of a race day shoe, as well as the stability frame of this specific shoe. I really wanted to love this shoe. However, you know, just with that heel pain already on the initial try-in, I don't think I could run in these. And also for $200, for me personally, I don't think it's worth it. I do like that Reebok is venturing out into the race shoe world, and they came in at an affordable price of $200. I say affordable in air quotes because it's still a lot of money, but compared to a lot of the other race day options, we're looking at, you know, $225 plus. They came in at $200, and I would, you know, recommend it, but if you could try it on before you buy it just to make sure that heel doesn't bother you, then that would be best case scenario. But if you are looking for a stability race day shoe, I think this is one of the only options that you have on the market, so make sure to check these out. So that's gonna pretty much wrap up my first impressions slash last impressions, because I am sending these back to Reebok, and I will see you guys in the next video.